Hi everyone, this is Prashant Parthiban. Today I'm going to take a training on commercial auto insurance. Say you have a business. To support your business, you do have a car, truck to take goods from one place to another place. Then you definitely need a commercial auto insurance. Lot of people have a misconception that if I have a personal auto insurance, that will alone is going to cover even my commercial exposures. That's not the case. If you have a business and if you are trying to use even your personal car for your business purpose, your personal auto insurance will not give required coverage. So you have to make sure that you have a commercial auto insurance. So coming to the loss exposures. What is loss exposures? Say if you have a business or if you have a car which is used for your business, then your car is one of the loss exposure, like anything that is exposed to loss. So similarly, if you have a car, if you make sure that when you are traveling or when you take goods from one business location to another business location, if due to your negligence, if you damage someone else's car, still you will have to find liability exposure. Basically, loss exposure is anything that is exposed to loss. So coming to commercial auto, we have liability exposure, property exposure and personal. Liability, as I told you, if your vehicle is going to damage someone else's vehicle, then this liability exposure comes into play. Similarly, if you have a vehicle which is damaged in your business, then property exposure is going to come into play. Similarly, personal, personal is where if you have a bodily injury due to your negligence of the driving, then this personal injury will come into play. Say if you have a loss of use, so all those things will come under personal use. Now, what are the different coverage forms we have for commercial auto, which is very important, because if it's a personal auto insurance, it's very straightforward. You have a car, you use it for a personal use and you have insurance. But in case of commercial auto, you have different kind of possibilities, right? One, I can have a own business. I can use my car for traveling or taking my goods from one location to another location. Similarly, if you have a mechanic like who's repairing your car, your exposures could be totally different, right? Because you need a commercial auto for your car. Similarly, if something happens to your mechanical shop, you need a general liability because the exposures are totally different. Similarly, you can have a business where you help others to take their car from one location to another location. That's what I'm trying to say here. So we have different kinds of coverage form. Business auto is a straightforward, where anything that you use, any car that you use for your business purpose, you cover business auto coverage form. Similarly, auto dealers. If I own a mechanic shop where I repair others' car, I go with auto dealers form. Motor carriers. If I have a business where I take cars of others from one location to another location, say if you have to relocate, your cars are moved by these motor carriers. So they have a different coverage form when it comes to commercial auto insurance. So pretty much these are the loss exposures, these are the coverage forms, and as I told you, the mostly used coverage form in commercial auto insurance is business auto, because most of 90% of the scenarios will be I have a company like a software company or some kind of retail companies, so I may need to use my personal auto or some car for some basic needs. So that's the reason why 90% of the time we use business auto. So now we will see in detail how the coverage forms, how the coverage is structured in business auto. To start with, this is how the structure looks like. It starts with covered autos, covered auto liability coverage, physical damage, conditions and endorsements. Now the commercial auto is a little bit different compared to personal auto, because in personal auto it's only straightforward scenario, right? You have a car and you use it for your personal reasons. But in commercial auto, you could have a car that yourself, like you own a car, or you could hire a car for your business purpose, or you can have an employee who is using his own car for your business purpose. So what they have done is they have come up with coverage symbols, which will tell you if you use coverage symbol 1, which means your commercial auto will give coverage to any car that get damaged during your business operations. So there are different list of symbols that we will go through shortly. The significance of the symbols is, once you have the symbols, you have to map each symbol to the required coverage, which means, say if you have a collision coverage, you will say like symbol 1 is applicable, which means anything that happens to the car, any car under your company will be covered. Instead, if you say symbol 2, which means the car that you own alone will have required coverage. If you have a car which is leased or which is rented, those will not have required coverages. First, we have to understand what are the different symbols, what are its significances. To start with, if you have a symbol 1, which means any auto, this is the broadest coverage. It can be your car, or it can be your hired car, rented car, or it can be car of your employee. So everything will be covered. Symbol 2 will be owned autos, which means anything that you own, that will be having required coverage. Symbol 3 is owned private autos. We know there could be different kind of passenger vehicles. One is private auto, one is non-private auto. When I say non-private auto, in our owned cars also we could have a bigger vans which will, or some other trucks which will not come under private autos. So those will be categorized under symbol 4. Symbol 5, owned autos, no fault. So we all know when we discuss personal auto insurance, we have some states that are no fault states, we have some states that are at fault states. So any car that is under the no fault states, then we have to use this symbol, symbol 5. Symbol 6, similar to no fault versus at fault, we do have some states that have uninsured motorist law, which means like those states definitely you need to have this uninsured motorist coverage. For those who are new to uninsured, which means if I have a car, if somebody has an insurance and they are responsible for the accident, and what happens is they are not even uninsured, in those scenarios, if you have this coverage, your insurance company will give required coverage. That's what is called as uninsured. Some states made it mandatory. If your car is parked, or if your car is driven in those kind of states, then you need this symbol 6. Symbol 7, specifically described auto. In this scenario, if your auto is not described in the policy, then no coverage is there. So it's very explicitly you have to mention your car in the policy. Then you use symbol 7. Symbol 8, hired autos. So this coverage will be given only if you have hired autos, not your own autos. Symbol 9, non-owned autos. Similarly, say you have an employee and your employee wants to use his own car for your business purpose. Then you use the symbol 9. And then symbol 19, mobile equipments. There are definition, as per the definition of the insurance ISOs, there are things like tractor, an excavator. Those things don't even come under the definition of car. So those things you have to use symbol 19. So we have seen this symbol, how it's used. Basically what will happen is every time when you have a coverage, next to the coverage they will say this coverage is applicable only for this symbol 5. If they say symbol 5, that means it's applicable only for owned autos which are there for no fault states. If they say this coverage, comprehensive coverage is applicable only for symbol 8, which means your coverage is only applicable for hired autos, not for your own autos. So it's very important you know these covered auto symbols. Now we have discussed the loss exposures, we have discussed the coverages, we have discussed what is business auto comprises of, then we have discussed covered auto symbols. Now let's discuss the coverages. To start with, liability coverage. As I told you, liability is a third party coverage. If you are driving a car for your business and if you damage someone else, then the liability coverage will come into play. Coming to the different things is duty to pay damage, duty to defend insured. So the way it is the core thing is if you damage somebody, what you have to do. So we have a limit for that. Similarly, defend. If you are responsible but you think that it's the other party who is responsible, then you have to defend yourself. Anything that cost for defending, it will be taken care by the insurance company. Similarly, duty to pay pollution costs. As an accident, if there is an issue with the environment, then it's a responsibility of the insurance company to pay the required pollution cost. Those will also be covered. In short, the commercial auto policy makes sure that you have a required liability coverage. Next one is physical coverage. As I told you, physical coverage takes care of like collision, comprehensive. What is collision? If you are driving a car for your business and if you, due to your negligence act, if you went and did an accident with someone else, then the collision will come into play. Comprehensive, say you have parked your car in your parking lot and something fell on your car and it broke your glass. So those things, anything apart from collision will cover under comprehensive. Towing, if something happens to your car, if it has to be towed, towing will be there. Transportation and the loss of use. If in case if you cannot use your car for a temporary purpose, then you need a rental car or anything, so loss of use will be covered. So this is the physical coverage. So every time when you have a coverage, you need to make sure that you have a corresponding symbol next to the coverage, so that it's very clear what coverage is given to what symbols. Finally, endorsements. In personal auto, if you see this medical payments, personal injury, uninsured, underinsured were all part of the coverage, original coverage. In commercial auto, especially the business auto coverage, you can add it only as endorsements. For those who are new to endorsements, endorsements are additional coverages that are added for additional premium. So what are the endorsements you can add? Medical payments. If there is an accident, if there is as a result of an accident, somebody got any issues with their bodily injury, then you can take some money from medical payments to cover their bodily injury. Personal injury protection. We know in case of at fault states, like those people who are at fault, they are responsible. In case of no fault states, the definition of no fault is even though a particular party is responsible for that accident, doesn't matter. Coverage will be taken from their own insurance companies. In those cases, you will have to access coverage from personal injury protection. So you have to add it as endorsement. Uninsured, as I told you just now, if you are in an accident, if the opposite party do not have the required coverage, then you access this uninsured coverage. Underinsured coverage, if you are in an accident, if the opposite party have a coverage, but they have limited coverage. Say if your loss is in such a way that you need coverage for 1 million liability, but the opposite party had only 50 million. So 5 million. So the remaining amount will be taken care as part of uninsured coverage. I know this is a huge topic, it takes some time, but this is very, very important that we understand the difference between personal auto as well as commercial auto. So I hope you understand. I hope you like my training videos. If you like my training videos, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Bye-bye.